tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Today is a very good day because we will have again the opportunity to explore the reality, explore ourselves, explore the reality of our and the potential of our minds. It is greater, much greater than what we can imagine. If we develop as everything, it can get very refined, subtle, and very beneficial. So today we're also very happy to share that we just had a class with our teacher. Best wishes for all from the teachers. They are very happy and thank you. Let's start today.
Okay, good morning everybody.
Good morning.
So today we are going to continue with the five material sphere chittas, Rupa Vachara chittas that we didn't finish last week. That's the chittas about jhanas, remember? So we will do a very quick revision about what we have seen last week. Just go through and then we will continue. So last week we were talking about Rupa Vachara chittas, the chittas of fine material planes, which are the chittas of samatha meditation. Yes, like when we get into jhana, into a very deep meditation stage, and then this kind of chittas arise in the mind. And these kind of chittas are further divided into three categories, which are the fine material wholesome chittas, kusala chittas. Those are when the person is meditating until the certain degree that this kind of chitta arises in his mind. So it is actually active. This is kusala, yes? And so it is action and karma, so it is planting seeds, this category. And then the next category that we will look at today is fine material resultant chittas. Those are the result of this kind of meditation. So the resultant chittas of these kusala chittas. Yes, later we will see they are basically identical. And there is another category which is kriya chittas, functional chittas of rupa vachara, of fine material sphere. And those are the chittas when the arahants or fully enlightened beings, when they meditate and then they attain this kind of jhanas, but because they don't plant seeds anymore, so these are only functional chittas. Okay, so now we'll go into a little bit more details. And let's go back a little bit the kusala chittas, and then we have already said last week that these kusala chittas are further divided into 5 kinds, depending on the jhana factors that accompanies the chitta.
Well, jhanas are the absorptions, mental absorptions, meditative states that we all have ability to go to when we are practicing and stabilizing the mind, and these are the ingredients that are present, which are very pure. The mind is doing very little movement. That's why the focus gets very heightened, and it is so powerful, this kind of mental activity, that it is separated from the normal. So the mind gets very focused, and as we know, there are five jhanas. So in the 5th one, the matter can even be manipulated in a different way.
Yes, jhana usually is translated as absorption, but because the word does not really explain what it means, so most of the time we just leave it as untranslated. And jhana actually has 2 functions. It is to focus or to concentrate into its object. So brings the mind very concentrated into its object, and another function is to burn up the hindrances, burn up the 5 hindrances. So that's the word jhana. What does it actually mean? It comes from the Pali words jai, meaning to contemplate and to burn up.
And sorry, but the burning up is not definite, as we know. It just
It's
temporarily suppress ill will and desire and mental numbness.
It will also.
So we will see today. And something important, my dear family, is to remember constantly that we are talking about ourselves. We have access to this if we practice meditation. And every person that we have ever met and will meet have this capability if they apply themselves with effort towards calming the mind, this is us in our most refined potential that in the mind that we are carrying.
Okay, so last week everybody was here, or did you watch the video? Yes. Did you have a chance? Yes. Okay, so basically you remembered already. So we mentioned about the jhana factors that are the chetasikas, which are prominent in the jhana chittas, no? In the rupa vachara jhana chittas. So they are vitaka, vichara, piti, sukha, ekagata. So we'll not go into explain this again because we already did it last week, and we'll continue. So depending on the five, which kinds of jhana factors are accompanied this kind of chittas, then they are further divided into five. Then very quickly, we just short revision. The first jhana chitta arises when these five are developed into a very high degree and very balanced. So all five of them are there. The second, then vitaka is initial application is not necessary anymore, so it's given up, and then so the four of them are there. Then the third jhana is piti, sukha, ekagata. Is in the third jhana. Now here a very short note. In your notes you will find that there is a sutta method and there is an Abhidhamma method. In the suttas you will also find that the Buddha mentions about jhana in many places. But in the suttas mostly is explained into 4 jhanas instead of 5 jhanas. So the only difference is actually in the suttas sometimes the Buddha, because it explained according to person, yes? So according to the occasions. So some people who are very who have higher degree of concentration or higher degree of wisdom, they can at one time give up vitaka and vichara at once. So in that case, the second jhana is like this, only piti, sukha, and ekagata. So because the other 2 is being given away, given up at the same time. So actually it's equivalent to the third jhana of the Abhidhamma method. Yes, it's only that difference.
Just to have clear, sutta means discourses that the Buddha gave, depending on who he was talking to. He was talking to peasant or the king. He was giving examples, and in the Abhidhammas, we know we are exploring nature as it really is.
Yes. Okay. So third jhana according to Abhidhamma method, second jhana according to sutta method. Yes. Okay. So the fourth jhana. Sukha and ekagata, no problem. And then the fifth one, jhana, the fifth jhana chitta is upekkha and ekagata. And here another remark, and upekkha here, it's also Vedana, but it's also another Chetasika, which if you have been in the Wednesday class, then we have seen that. Otherwise, in the chapter 2, we will look at it again, so no problem. So this also Tatra Majatata, which is the balancing of all the mental ingredients. So it's not only just mental feeling of upekkha, but also the calmness and the balancing of the whole mind. No? Okay, so that's the upekkha of jhana. Okay, so that's what we saw last week. Rupa Vachara Kusala Chittas. And now let's go to the next group. So we see here that is further divided into first, second, third, fourth, and fifth jhana. No problem here according to jhana factors. Yes. Then the next one is resultant. The resultant here is the exact identical result of those kusala chittas, meaning that if the first jhana has 5 jhana factors, the resultant also has 5 jhana factors. And then here 4, 3, 2, 2. Yes, so they are identical. Until here, any question, commentaries? Yes.
Jhana, can I ask about the jhana factors? In order to be like a jhana chitta, it's because of the combination of the chetasikas and also how high are developed, right?
Yes.
So a chetasika, it's not like just something that does its function. It also has like a capacity to be developed.
Yes, but it also does its own function, of course. So it's, for example, it's function of, let's say, ekagata, which is one-pointedness. So in jhana, it is most important, no? Because it is concentration, ekagata. So in ekagata, its function is to stabilize and to concentrate in one point. So when it is very highly developed and balanced with the other jhana factors, then jhana chittas arises. So it can be developed because when we are practicing samatha meditation, we are focusing and training the mind into focusing. Yes, so that especially that type of quality is being trained and being developed. So they can be developed but they are still developed highly, but they are still performing their own function because their function is to focus.
Okay. So it's, for example, if this Chatasika Ekagata is working in another chitta, like of the
Agusala chitta, for example.
For example, it's the same Chatasika, but it's not developed in the same way as in Jhana chitta.
Okay, technically they are not the same Chatasika, they are the same type of Chatasika because they associate with the Kusala chitta and then they arise and passes away there. So those associate with the Agusala also arise and passes away there. So there is never one same Chatasika, no, but they are the same type, yes. And exactly as you said, so they are those ones are not developed in the Kusala way, no, they could develop in bad ways. They could be developed in bad ways.
We can see that every Chatasika thinking about having two dimensions. The one that they show their characteristic, they do their function, and they have their proximate cause, no? Whatever makes them arise. But for example, taking up anger, which dosa, which will be a negative Chatasika, sometimes we get angry a little bit, sometimes we get angry a lot. So we can see the second dimension will be how much there is of it or how intense the Chatasika is. In the case of the good ones, we also can love a little bit, like okay, just have metta a little bit, and we can also feel a very deep sense of well-being, wishing well-being for others. So in this case of the five, yes, they can be the same Chatasika is there doing this function. It will be doing arising and passing away, but it will have the dimension of intensity. And some of them, actually most of them, even the negative ones, the more we practice them, the stronger they get. So we can think as Chetasikas as the different muscles of the mind. The one that we make more exercise with is the one that is going to be stronger.
Yeah, and another point which is very important is with whom they are associated with, no? Like say for example, the Ekagata is actually ethically variable. It can associate with Kusala or it can associate with Akusala, or it can associate even with Kriya. Yes, so neither Kusala nor Akusala. But it depends on if it is associated with Kusala, then of course the whole thing is Kusala, so they are good qualities. So if they are associated with Akusala, other Akusalas, then it is bad quality. So its job is to, say for example, its job is to encourage all other Chatasika to do its job, no? So if all other Chetasikas are good, so he's encouraging everybody to do good. But if all others are bad, he's still doing his job, encouraging all others to be bad. So it depends on who we associate with. Something else?
No.
Yeah. Okay. So anybody? Fine. Okay. So we were talking about the resultant, which is the chitta as well, yes. So these chittas, they are identical with its cause, let's say, this cause and effect.
The
yes?
fruit is same as the seed.
The seed. And here, this is a more refined apple. Because now we are in Rupa Vachara fine material, so it's not material. So it's just another icon. So we know that they are different. Now, as we already said now, here is actually exactly the same again, but here it is the fully enlightened being meditating and attain those jhanas, which they don't plant seeds anymore, so it's only functional. We'll go into it a little bit more, but let's go to fine material resultant chittas first. So the function, one of the function of Rupa Vachara Vipaka chitta is the rebirth consciousness of beings in the fine material plane. So as we know that there are different, there are 31 planes of existence, as the Buddha explained. Now we will look into that. So there are some beings that have very fine the materiality. Yes. So this body, this matter that we have is quite
Gross.
tough and quite coarse. So let's say when we hit something, then it crashed. Yes. So fine material are so fine. It's much finer than this kind of
Matter.
matter that we are as human we have. So there are different fine material planes. Now we will look at to that. So depending on the level of the jhana, which kind of jhana that the person attained, then the resultant
When
also
they die,
the resultant also will be accordingly. And when they die, then there are those kind of destination, those kinds of plane that they will arrive to. Let's say they will be reborn there because it is identical to the quality of their mind. That where they will be reborn to.
if a being has a coarse mind, like kind of more materialistically inclined or attached, it gives, let's say, human or animal. But if we develop our mind to more refined, when we die, that mind, that frequency of mind only can be matched with a body that matches, or not just a body, but existence, a life, a rebirth that matches the refinement of that mind. So in this case, as humans, we already are quite good, not in the lower realms, but we still have to live this suffering of having a body which decays much more than if it was more refined. For let's say devas and brahmas, which are the beings that we are talking about right now, especially the brahmas, they have so little materiality that they have a very long span of life because their body don't decay as ours, because it's a much more subtle. And only by dying, when we die, if we have the mind developed to such extent and it can match to have that kind of life or embody that kind of being.
Yes.
Is it only like possible to rebirth in those realms developing the jhanas?
Yes.
Or
Yes.
let's say for people who practice a lot of morality and do a lot of good, but
Devas.
For Deva, yes. For
okay,
Brahma, for Rupa and Arupa Brahma, must be jhana.
okay,
But for someone who practices a lot of generosity, a lot of goodness, morality towards other people, it can give the 6 realms of Deva,
Yes.
which we are the number 5. From 6 to 11 is the Deva,
Now
so
we have
they're the
graph,
ones.
So,
And we will see them a little bit. Very interesting.
okay, so let's go there. So we have the 31. Yeah.
Sorry, Chalana,
Yes.
you need to die in a jhana
Uh-huh.
jhana state, or if you attain the jhana and you die.
So it depends on how skillful that person is. The teacher, Sayadaw Silananda, he says that the person must die with the jhana intact. Intact meaning that still he has the capability to enter and come out as
At will.
as he wants, but not necessarily during the dying process he must be in jhana. Not
But
necessarily.
there are stories of great masters who, before dying, they knew
entered
they
into
were
jhana.
they knew they were about to die, so they entered the jhana and then died there. But we have some doubts at the very end. We need to ask our teachers. We were discussing that yesterday, and the mind at the end is very weak. It's really, as we know, if a person practice already a lot, the mind can go directly. That's why teacher says like having the jhana intact, meaning to be expert on it. So there are tales of great masters dying in jhana, and certainly they know where they are going. Now, just to mention a story which is a very from the life of the Buddha, very inspiring. You remember the wise man that sees the little Siddhartha before the Buddha. He sees the little baby born, and then he cries. You remember?
Yeah.
He cried, and then the king says, "Why do you cry? What's wrong with my baby?" And then he says, "Su Majestad," how you say?
Your
Your Majesty. If your son has the potential to become a fully enlightened Buddha, if he becomes a Buddha, I am old, and by the time he's gonna be teaching, I will be dead. And he knows that he has jhana and that he will die and go to Brahma. That's why he knows he won't be around as human.
And
So
the thing
he
is,
knows
he
he
has
was
arupa jhana.
Yes.
So he will be born in the immaterial
Immaterial
world. So
world.
he has no ear and no eye. He cannot even come down to the world to see the Buddha.
The immaterial one has no body at all, so have no ears, have no eyes. So he won't be able to listen what the Buddha is about to tell. So that's why he cries, because he knows his mental development. So he's gonna go to Brahma, no body, because non-material, because he knows his development is very heightened. So that's why he kind of feels this sorrow. And if reality goes as it goes, he's right now there. I mean, for him, 2,600 years might be a few seconds that he just born there. Because as we see insects, for example, we see a poor mosquito, we can, I mean, we can have compassion. Oh, poor guy, just live 1 or 2 days. And we humans live 80 years, we see, oh, very short-lived. In the same way, the Devas and the Brahmas see the humans, oh, they just live 100 years. 1 day for a Deva is like 50 years of human. The lowest one. So a few seconds of a Brahma, they have such a long lives because they have nothing that gets rotten. So it's just a mind rolling, that a few seconds of their life is many years as human being. So that master, that teacher, knew he was not going to be able to even listen what the Buddha was saying. So he needs to wait for the next Buddha all the way. So he saw the potential there, but then he missed the opportunity. How lucky we are to be able to listen to all this.
So before we go there, just I want to finish with that. But also we have to know that jhana that is attained in the human realm like this, it can fall down. So say for example a person, if he practiced jhana, he entered the jhana sometime, but then he never practiced again. So
Like
he's not skillful to go in and go out and to practice, then in that case, then it won't be. He won't be able to be reborn there.
The muscle needs to be very, very developed. And as any muscle, if we don't exercise it, even jhanas fall down again.
So jhana actually is also one of the, in chapter 5, when we talk about karma, then we will be very clear. It's also something that is very strong. You remember that there are a few garuka karma, which is the weighty karma, like karma with a lot of weight, which means, like remember we said that before, that if a person kills his mother or father, then surely he is going to lower realm in the next life, because the weight of his action is too much. Whatever good he has done, it's not going to help him in this case. So surely he's going down. So jhana is also a very weighty karma if it is intact, if it is still working. So he's surely to go up. So in the same way, the jhana is also a weighty karma.
It's a garuka karma. Your question?
I'm gonna think more about it.
Okay.
How to make it.
Yeah.
Jhana?
Yes.
Maybe it's a misunderstanding, but it's that kind of realms. There are not like places that it's not like really constructive to go to. It's not better to be in a human realm.
Let's look at the
Okay.
realm now, and then we will discuss how is there a little bit, and whether it is nice to be there.
The question is the question is if it is better to born in one of those realms.
or
that
better to be
because-
human.
Because of how, what I heard, it's like better to be in the human realm because it has like the balance of suffering and pleasure, and it's like the best realm to.
Yeah.
One of them.
yourself.
One of them.
It depends on what kind of the quality of the mind. Let's go.
Just briefly, if our teacher, we have discussed that with our teacher who come, we asked him one time, when you die, what would you like to become? And he said, if I already know the Dhamma,
He said, if you don't get enlightened.
If I don't get enlightened
you
first,
born again.
if I already know the Dhamma, I would like to reborn as Deva. Because you suffer much less, you live much longer, and your mind is
Time
much
to
sharper.
practice.
So you have time to practice and think. Now, how is it good or not? If I do a lot of good, but I have a lot of wrong view, many wrong views, and there is not enough wisdom, and because of the goodness I practice, I go to Deva, but I have no contact with the Dhamma, I will spend a long time without being able, just enjoying the pleasures, because you don't suffer physically. And Devas can appear things. They have the ability, because they have very fine material and they manage the matter.
Celestial pizza.
Celestial perm, and then let's make this perm, and then so it is very a little bit dangerous. The teacher says because the beauty that people experience, the celestial music, there are some Gandhavas there are some beings there. They say that the music that the Devas make in comparison to the music humans do, wow! And then the smells and everything is so beautiful that it has the potential for lova to increase. So if we don't have a training and no Dhamma, it is a little bit not very good. But if we have Dhamma and are able to continue studying there, so it is very beneficial because you suffer less.
Yeah, better environment.
And teacher, we asked teacher, oh teacher, your plan sounds very good. He says, because I know the Dhamma right now, I will continue to practice it. And then we say, oh teacher, we would like to follow. He say, I will look for you and I will continue teaching you there. Oh, sad. So we have a plan with him to hopefully, if we do enough good, reborn as Deva and continue studying with him. We said, teacher, please find us and continue teaching. He says seriously at the end, I will find you and I will continue teaching you until you liberate. Oh, today we spoke with him, so he's very, 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 very nice.
So
it depends.
So the question is answered. So it depends. Well, anyway, we'll go to the planes and then we will see a little bit more. So now, the 31 plane of existence, the Buddha explained that there are four lower planes, which are the planes where beings suffer much more than human beings. And so in these realms, in these planes of existence, there are much less happiness and much more suffering. Like say for example, maybe they don't have enough. Let's say for example animals. If you see any documentary, you see how difficult animals' life is actually. Sometimes we think, oh, the bird's so nice, they fly in the sky and like this, but actually not so funny because they have to be looking for food and then they have to be seeing that no other predators are coming and so. It's really difficult. Life as an animal is not so easy. Some a little bit more animals that has a little bit more good karma, then they maybe become pets at home, so they are a little bit free from danger and they have food and like that. But that's also because of their own karma. But anyway, still it is not a happy existence because they don't have the mind quality to develop
and an animal
understand themselves.
Our teacher says that an animal cannot know himself, like he cannot have awareness. So if there is no awareness, wisdom cannot arise. So that is the main thing that separates the consciousness of a human and an animal. The main difference. Fortunately, and that's why we are so fortunate that the consciousness that we are carrying is capable of knowing itself and correcting and guiding itself. That's the big difference. And one of the things that there are some teachings. I mean, in the world you have seen. There is even a song in Portuguese that says, "Oh, I wish I would be as wise as the animals." And our teachers all the time says, "Be very careful to compare yourself with animals, because the frequency that you attune to, you become." So if we put animals on top of the mind of humans, he said it is technically impossible because of their capabilities, and we can lower ourselves when we are putting onto that position. Also, they say that when we relate to animals, we can experience a lot of love and a lot of compassion, but do not bring your level of consciousness to theirs, because as humans, as empathetic social beings, we are able to make empathy with a being, let's say a baby, and we can we start talking on their getting onto their language, and depending to whom we talk, we attune to. So the teachers are very careful, says when you deal with animals, don't bring your consciousness. You feel yourself as an elder brother, saying, yes, we can experience love, we can love each other and do goodness, but come, move on from this realm. And the animal has the capability. We might have been teacher says that definitely we have been in previous existences animals many times, so we are able to improve our consciousness, and we need to help even an animal, if possible, to show him or her good and celebrate the goodness they do. That will be the best thing we are doing for that consciousness to move on to higher realms.
Yes. So now, since we have seen so many types of chitas and things, so you have already enough information to talk a little bit technically about this. Say, for example, remember, to be born in these realms is because of akusala. Remember, because of unwholesome actions done, yes, in previous life in this case, yes. So remember, akusala vipaka, the result of unwholesome, what kind of resultant it gives? Only rootless, remember? Only rootless. So they are born with rootless resultant. So there is no good roots there. No wisdom root, no generosity root, and no loving kindness root. So that's why it is not possible to develop. They have no wisdom root. They cannot further develop. And also goodness is also difficult because they also don't have the good roots. It can be sometimes possible, but
kindness,
it's difficult.
but the deepest development of goodness as we are able to, it is not consciously do good to someone else. It is not possible.
A little bit difficult.
At least to the degree that it can liberate and get enlightened. We cannot. It's impossible for these beings to get enlightened. And the realities they experience, we have seen with animals living on the wild. I mean, sometimes they are predators, so they are killing because of surviving. They must kill, so they have no choice of doing wrong. They must do wrong, otherwise they die. They must kill someone else, and at the same time they are afraid constantly that the bigger one is not coming to kill them. The predator is unless the one that is in the top of the food chain, it's the only one safe. But all the other ones always have someone who can catch. So this suffering. Just talking about animals, we have not gone to all these realms, which are the hungry beings, the petas and the asuras, which suffer even worse because they are tortured by their mind. Their mental state is always desire or always anger, anger, consuming themselves into regret, anger. And we have seen as humans, we also, when someone gets sick of anger or regret, we can torture ourselves for decades, for a whole life. So it is not so far to think about this, because even in humans, there are people who sometimes behave even worse than animals. Yes, it is true. Like something is happening, immediately go to violence. So even in our realm, we can see many degrees of mental development. So we can easily relate to all these possible realms.
Okay, so let's go ahead now. Okay, so these four realms have four the lower planes. They are much more suffering. Then after that, we have one human plane. That's where we are. Then after the human planes, then we have 6 deva planes. Then after the 6 deva planes, there are 16 kinds of fine material planes where beings, Brahmins beings are born there with fine material planes. And then the ones that we are talking about now, those resultant of Rupa Vachara jhanas, are those that will be born in one of these 16 kind of planes. And after that, then there are 4 non-material planes, which are the Arupa realm, those planes that does not have any matter anymore, only mind. And today also we will see those jhanas, those are Rupa jhanas. Today we will also see. So altogether there are 31 plane of existence. And until here, it is called Kamavachara, sense sphere. So those Kamavachara chitta that we already learned, the 54 kinds, happened mostly here. It does not mean that it cannot happen here, but most frequently they happened here. That's why they are called Kamavachara chittas. And also the ones that in Kamavachara chitta, these two, the 6 devas and 1 human, is called Kama Sugati. Su comes from Sukha, happiness. Gati is the destination. Kama Sugati is sense sphere, happy existence. So because it's not so bad. So it's and beings that are born here they are because of wholesome actions. Only kusala actions. The result of kusala will be here. So say for example, kusala born as human, and as Alex now saying that if a person has a lot of morality and generosity and good deeds but no jhanas, then they could be born into Deva realms, the one of the 6, depending on the quality of their actions. Yes?
And just as a note, some of these devas are around here. The teacher says that they must be, and they like forest. Some of them, some kind of them. So it's very probable that wherever you see a good patch of trees, there might be devas around. Also, the ones in lower, they also share the same planet in different ways. And teacher says that whenever the Dhamma is being exposed or something, if there is some liking, there might be around. So teachers mostly devas, but both there are less possibilities, but it's possible. So teacher said that we might not be alone right now.
Yeah, so in the time of the Buddha, when the Buddha explained the Dhamma, many beings get enlightened, and not only human beings. Many devas and Brahmins, they come to listen to the Dhamma, they also get enlightened.
And one time in Thailand, just briefly, one time in Thailand, there was a great master, very great master, very respected, and people thought he was already an arahant. And when he was very ill, very old, they sent him to the hospital, and every night they could hear him teaching in the night. The nurses said, the master is talking, and then they come close to the door, and he's teaching, giving teachings, boom, boom, but very, very developed teachings. And then his mind was very clear. So then later on, they asked him, and apparently what they came up to, it was that there are possibilities that he was teaching, because they come in and he was by himself on the room. So he said, is he having some kind of hallucination, delusion or something? Apparently he was teaching all the kinds of things. He was using the last moments of his life to share. So there are some beautiful tales about it.
Okay, so these planes and Kamavachara, beings are being born here because of kusala actions, yes? And these 4 lower realms is called Kama Dugati. Du comes from dukkha. Yes, so it's a sense here, unhappy existence. There are more dukkha, much more suffering there. So beings are being born here because of unwholesome actions. Okay, so that's Kamavachara. And then we also have already seen Rupavachara, which is what we are looking now. So Rupavachara means the 5 material planes. So those jhāna chittas, then those vipaka actually can only happen here, because those are the rebirth consciousness of the beings in these 16 not 5 material planes. So vipaka only can happen here, does not happen in sans realm. But the kusala, the meditation part, is possible that it can happen in here. The devas or the human, they are not possible. For them, it's not possible. For human and deva, and of course, if they are in this realm and then they practice, also it's possible. Yes. So those are Rupavachara, 5 material planes, and then there are also Arupavachara, non-material planes, 4 of them. So today we will also look at that. So briefly, this is the 4. This is the 31 plane of existence as explained by the Buddha. So how long, how is the situation there, how long does this being live, and all these details will come in later chapters of the Abhidhamma. Yes?
The lower ones, sorry, just to clarify, it's animals, Peta, Asura.
Asura is here, and this is Niraya, hell beings.
Hell beings.
Like beings that are constantly being tormented by all kinds of different suffering. And then the situation says that it's very hot there, or like climate is not good, and so
very difficult situation. In general, if we die with ignorance, we go to animal. If we die in a moment, or we were not able to cultivate enough wisdom, we die as an animal. If we die with greed, we will become the two like hungry ghosts, like the being that is always having desire and nothing can quench their thirst. And if we die with anger, is the lowest, is the most painful one, because we die angry and we go to the lowest one, the one that is very fiery. And people who suicide because they died with an intense degree of anger, that's why the teacher says that it is the worst decision a human being can take, because naturally a person who killed something before leaving, in this case was himself, goes directly to the most painful one. That's why he says, don't.
So this is general, no? In general,
Yes,
there is
that's
no
quite
fixed
general.
rule. No
General.
fixed rule. Like say it can also, because it's always you see ignorance and also lova, it's also together. Dosa and moha also together. So there is no fixed rule, but it is in general. It is in this way. Yes.
Sorry, one more question.
Yes.
I'm confused a little bit with the Asuras realm because in Tibetan Buddhism, in the will, they depict it like very
Good.
close to Devas.
Yes.
Yes.
So
Yes.
how is it that it's so far in terms of?
Yes, and actually Asura is some beings that is a little bit special because they are powerful beings actually.
They can also
They
create
are-
things
they
and move
are-
things, but they're in the soft.
They are quite powerful. They are more powerful than these other beings. Then they have some kind of power, but they are definitely, according to Theravada teachings, according to how the Buddha explained, they are lower. They are born there because of akusala, and they are also unhappy existence. So Devas is only these 6 kinds that are about human being. Asura is lower realm.
And they are naughty devas, our teacher says. They are devas who
It's just like naughty human
like
beings.
humans. They are good humans and they are naughty human beings. Also devas can do something, and also they can make how you say, poking. They can poke humans. They can do something like this. So it's possible. Un momentito, don Miguel, acá.
Where is Tusita Heaven and Naraka? Naraka is
Tusita is here
In the Devas.
realm.
in Naraka is here.
Naraka.
I'm not sure.
Is where the demons is.
Niraya.
Niraya.
Niraya will be, if it is Niraya, it is down.
Niraya is the lowest.
The low. Don't you guys?
So it's easy, you could say, to confuse a naughty deva with an asura.
No.
You don't distinguish them very clearly.
Not possible, because they born with kusala. To become a deva, we must have done good, and to become asura, we died with a negative tendency of the mind, so it went down. This actually, serpientes y escaleras is totally. You do good, you go up. You do bad, you go down. And also, in terms of energy, even air, whenever it's more dense, it falls down. So whenever it's cold, it comes down. Whenever it is hot, air goes up. For consciousness happens the same. Our consciousness has the ability to be cool with love, with wisdom, with generosity, or to be hot with anger, hot with desire or passion, and then whichever temperature or the quality it maintains at the time of death, it naturally, light goes up, heavy goes down. So that's the way it moves out.
That will give result, no?
That will give result. It will give result in such a realm that matches with the quality that we left the world.
Okay, so yes.
Temporality, I would like to know how many periods of time the people remains in.
Depends on his karma. Say for example, if he was reborn into the lower realm because of an unwholesome action, but the unwholesome action was very slight, then he might stay there 1 week or whatever, then he might be reborn in another being soon. Or if his action was so bad, he could stay there for hundreds and thousands of years.
Eons.
So we
Or
don't know,
eons.
depends on the action.
Depending on the bad, a person who kills mother, father, or harms a Buddha
Will stay
stays
long
there
time.
for long, because that is so heavy. To kill one of our parents, matricide or patricide,
Or yourself.
it's even worse to kill your parents.
Oh.
Apparently, or yourself. It's very hard. But even killing yourself, the Buddha didn't describe in the 4 Garuka Kamas. The 4 Garuka Kamas, Garuka means heavy and Kama means action. The heaviest action that definitely when you
Brings
die,
down or brings
you
up?
will bring you down or up,
Bring
which
up.
is jhāna. So the Garuka Kama for bad is harming or killing mother, father, harming an arahant or a Buddha, or separating the Sangha, the order that keeps the teaching for the liberation of beings. So these 4 things definitely go down. Now there are stories in the suttas when the Buddha could see where a being should go. So it was a very
Will go, no.
will go where he sees a being and he knows where he's going because his wisdom is so big, his understanding
Just
is so big.
according to law of nature, no? He does not have to invent anything.
So you can see in the suttas that the monks around him had like a sport, like entertainment. They asked many times to the Buddha, Master, where is this being is going? Where is this being is going? So you can see many tales that they ask him, and the Buddha was saying, this being, because of this and this and this action, he will be going up or he will be going down. So the Buddha knew.
Or where he come from.
And
Ah,
according
where
to
he came from.
where he comes from, he could see before and after. And according to your question that how long can a being there be there, there is a story of the queen. Which king was there? Well, there was a queen, and then she died, and the king comes to ask the Buddha. He said, "The Buddha, where is my wife? Can
The
you
queen,
can
they
you
have
please
been
tell
doing
me?"
a lot of generosity and they have been doing a lot of good during the lifetime. And so the king was expecting that the queen
Will be up.
now somewhere in the Deva realm or something like that.
But the Buddha knew that the queen, just before dying, she had a
Memory.
memory of sexual pleasure just before dying. So he knew that memory brought her down. So the king goes to the Buddha and says, "The Buddha, can you please tell me where is the queen right now? Is she on a higher realm?" Because he knew she was very generous and thing. And the Buddha tell the king, "Don't ask me this. Please
Come
don't
back.
ask me. Come back
in
and
7
ask me
days."
in 7 days, in 1 week." The Buddha did not tell because the Buddha knew she was down temporarily. She spent like a week in one down, but all the goodness that she did before took her out very quickly from one lower destination.
Oh, I
Then
see.
the king comes back to the Buddha and says, the
7
Buddha,
days.
7 days after, the Buddha, can you please tell me? And then now the Buddha was saying, yes.
Yes,
She
is.
is on the
Oh,
Devas.
great. What a
She
great
is on the
story.
Devas.
Yeah.
Because if she was really on the, where she was, you remember?
I don't
She
know.
was
I
on
was
the
in hell, I
Sura
think.
or Helsi. She went really down. So he knew she was going to be very little because her goodness was going to like a cord push her out. And then when she comes, she's enjoying the
The
Deva
Buddha
realm and
didn't want to
everything.
tell the king yet, otherwise he will be very sad that even so much goodness she did and then she went down so that he will lost confidence. He will lost confidence
in the
in
practice.
the practice. So the Buddha didn't want to tell him that. So that in
Wow.
7 days.
Wow.
So they
Wow,
are
what a
they are
story.
so many times in Tibetan Buddhism when they say the bardos and all these places, actually there is no place where the consciousness waits. There are possibilities
Immediately
for
reborn.
different kinds. It is when we die immediately we're reborn in any of these.
Yeah.
So there are possibilities to be in another lower realm or higher realm, whatever, and then you come back to human. That's why they can recognize the same being because of all the tests that Tibetans know how to do. But it is not that consciousness stop, never. It just goes, get another life, but it can be a very short-lived and then come back up. As we see, there are babies that they arrive into a human womb and miscarriage, and then the miscarriage happens, and then that being stayed here for very little.
Yeah.
Very, very short. Depends on their previous actions. All of it is not because of external force, but because of our own development and previous actions, be it good or bad.
Sorry, one more question. There is a story from a Buddha's disciple that I've heard that always kind of shocked me in a way because I didn't understand. Now that we're talking about karma and reincarnation and enlightenment or
Rebirth.
rebirth, sorry.
Yeah.
It's the story of Angulimala.
Yeah.
So how is possible that a person who killed so many people in his lifetime got enlightened?
That is the beautiful thing about it. Even a mercenary, even a killer can, through development, arrive. There is no bad people, inherently bad people or inherently good people. We have the potentiality. But you remember that the Buddha goes to catch him before he kills his mother? Angulimala means, Anguli means finger. Mala means mala, like a rosary, no, of fingers. So his teacher gave the instructions, bad instruction, very twisted instructions, spiritual development. For his spiritual development, the teacher he says, you must kill 100 people, and then you will be free from suffering.
No, and then I will teach you.
And then I will teach you, and then you will be free from suffering. So you must cut one finger of the people, and then he will have this mala of 100 fingers. So the Buddha knows about him, and he has killed 99 person around, and he's about to kill the last one. And then the Buddha, with his super understanding and vision, he knows that Angulimala says, the next people I find, I will kill, so I will be ready to start studying for liberation of suffering. And the Buddha realized that the next person Angulimala is about to encounter is his mother. He knows Angulimala has the potential to become an arahant. He became an arahant, finally. So he knows the potential of goodness that this guy has, but has very wicked teaching, and he's about to kill his mother. So if he kills his mother, he won't have possibility, he's finished on this life, and he will go to down for long period, because that's a Garuka Kama. Then the Buddha immediately goes and find him, and he's walking in front of him, and then Angulimala says, I'm gonna kill this monk. And then he says, stop! And then the Buddha is walking very slowly like this, and Angulimala is running in the back, and the Buddha walking very slowly, and Angulimala running and says, stop! He cannot catch him. And then at that time he said, stop! Pelon! You say, how you say that? Bald head. And that's why we know the Buddha, from that suttas we know that he was as any monk, shaved. He said, stop! And then the Buddha turned and he said, Angulimala, I have stopped. You are the one who must stop doing wrong. And then it was such a intention and such power the Buddha spoke to Angulimala that he really falls onto consciousness, and then he had a transformation and decides to learn from the Buddha and got enlightened. So he killed people, and we can be the bad actions we do can be redeemed by a lot of goodness. So then he practiced, and he had a lot of potential from the back, and he got enlightened.
But actually it cannot, whatever he done is already done. So, but what he did is he cut the possibility of rebirth. So there is no chance for this bad karma to give result. If he was going to be reborn again, if he didn't get enlightened, then all those he has done will have possibility to give result. But because there is no more condition for rebirth, because he got fully enlightened already, so during lifetime he still get bad result. People still, although he was an enlightened being, when he go for alms round, people throw him stone and
they try to they beat him,
shout at him and do bad things to him, no? So still he has to bear some kind of results of what he did, but not the other bad worse result, because there is no more condition, because he cut off the conditions for that.
So that's a story of hope. Even we have done bad and wrong in the past, through cultivating goodness, we can overcome. If there is more darkness and little light, darkness will prevail. If there is strong light and darkness will fade away. It doesn't matter how much it is. It's like teacher says, if you enter to this room in darkness, but you have a very little light, then you have to be turning around, you won't be able to see. But if you have very powerful light, the light of wisdom or goodness, any darkness can immediately be dispelled.
Yeah. So just only one more point about this, and then we go on, because now we have to still have a lot of things to see. So our teacher explained that according to the text, the scriptures, Angulimala is not a bad person originally. He actually has practiced a lot in his previous life. That's why he was almost ready. Otherwise, he won't be able to get enlightened in that life. He has practiced a lot and he has good wisdom. But just because of bad karma, he met a bad teacher, and then because of some moha, delusion, he thought that is a good thing to do, and so he did that. But he is not such a bad person according to him.
Okay.
That's why.
Okay, so that's about the 31 plane, Rupa Vachara and Arupa Vachara. But still, all these 31 planes is still samsara. So because if wherever we are reborn, if there is reborn, we are still inside the cycle of birth and death and birth and death and birth and death. It's never ending.
Going up and down.
So yeah, we can go here, go down, and whatever it can be born, then still we are there. So suffering is not finished, because there are still birth, there are still sickness, there are still old age, there is still death. Even they don't have body, they don't get sick, and then they don't get old, but still they will die. It's not forever, the life there. So after those long years that they live there, then they might be reborn in another realm of Brahman or another realm of Brahman or into Deva. Then eventually they could also become human, and they can also still have possibility to be born in the 4 lower realms. So with this, wherever we are, is we're not out of samsara. Only fully enlightened person are out of samsara. They won't be reborn anymore. Neither of these ones. So at that time, really free.
All of them are still dukkha, anicca, and anatta. Still suffering is experienced in all of them. And to have good news, our teacher says that we have been many times in all of them. This process that we are carrying right now has been many times in all of them.
This I don't know, but maybe.
Maybe less, but we have been many times. Definitely on these ones, rolling and rolling and rolling and rolling many times.
Now we know which planes and what people do, what kind of actions are done to be reborn there. And then later, next week also, we will need this information. So it's good. Okay, so these are the rebirth consciousness resultant of the 5 material planes, according to what kind of jhana they attain and the quality, then they are reborn into this realm. Okay, so now let's go to the last group of this Rupavachara Chitta, which is Kriya. So again, it's the same one, first, second, third, fourth, fifth jhana, according to its jhana factors. And those are the chittas when fully enlightened being meditates and get into jhana, but because they don't plant seeds anymore, so it is not kusala. And it's also not result, so it's also not vipaka. So they're only functional, they only meditate and that's it. So they don't leave any karmic result or karmic potency. So they are only kriya chittas, functional chittas. So here no problem, yes? Yeah, okay. So let's continue.
My dear friends, this is where we can develop. All these that we are talking, we are ability to bring, if out of neglect of our good qualities, we can bring this same consciousness that we're carrying right now down. It can go down, or we can bring it up. So please, as we continue looking at this, we are looking at the potential of subtlety of this mind that we are carrying. If we have the intention and put the effort and know the technique well to do, we can arrive, even as humans, to all these subtle kinds of being, and we can experience. You remember Brahma Viharas, the loving kindness, compassion, happiness in the happiness of others, and equanimity. We can develop these emotions, so to say, or mental ingredients as human beings, and are the ones that the Brahmas mostly experience. That's why it's called the place where the Brahmas inhabit. The Brahmas mostly experience these 4 elements, which are total beauty, and we can have them and develop them as human beings. So we are looking at us and our potential.
Okay, so let's go back to jhana a little bit. That we mentioned that jhana means concentration and burn up. Yes, the 5 hindrances. So concentrate on what? Concentrate on the meditation object with a high level of concentration, and burning up the 5 hindrances. So now here, what burns the 5 hindrances are actually the 5 jhana factors. So each of the jhana factors, they actually burn one of the hindrances. That's why they are very important. That's why they are the jhana factors. So vitaka, initial application, it burns sloth and torpor.
Sleepiness.
Because its function is to bring the mind to the object. No? So it's bring the mind to the object, so it cannot be sleepy. And so because of the development of vitaka, initial application, then sloth and torpor is being burned out. This hindrance is being burned out. Then vichara sustains applications. When the mind is sustained on the object, then it is not thinking about doubt. It's not thinking about is this going to work, and but this method is okay or not, and will I be able to do this, or is this what the teacher is saying is real or not, or whatever doubt it may be. So when vichara is being highly developed in the jhana factors, then it burns up doubt.
And mostly the kind of doubt that is the most expensive is to doubt about ourselves. To doubt that we can develop towards goodness. That is the worst doubt that a human being can have. If we doubt that we cannot be cultivating wisdom or love or compassion, then very little to do. That's the heaviest. That we can develop in the spiritual path, that is the one. And when the mind is sharp and holding it with a kind intent, with a wholesome intent, then the practitioner has no doubt about the good benefits of goodness.
The next one, piti, joy, is it burns up ill will. That's quite obvious, no? Because when the mind is happy, is joyful, then there is not thinking bad for other beings. So this kind of hindrance is also being burned up by joy. Then sukha or upekkha here, it burns out remorse and remorse and restlessness. Because when the mind is calm, this equanimous, so it is the exact opposite. It burns it up, remorse and udacha, restlessness.
When the mind understands that we do bad because we still have the roots of negativity inside, when wisdom arises, he says, well, I should not punish myself. I should develop to go out of this negativity, because as long as these roots are inside, this mind that I'm carrying will continue to do wrong. And also when someone else do wrong, one may understand, well, it's not him that is bad inherently, it's the lack of skill and the lack of wisdom that is making him, the ignorance that is making him act in such a way. So through wisdom, this kind of upekkha arises. No need to remorse, no need for guilt, no need for self-mortification or punishment of ourselves, which in itself is already dosa towards oneself. So we are trying to decrease the fire with gasoline. So only by that upekkha, understanding that there is negativity in the world and I still possess it, I better start working, and then all this remorse will fade away.
Then the last one, ekaggata, one-pointedness, burns up sense desire. But when the mind is very concentrated and is a meditation object, it's not thinking about sense pleasure, sensual pleasure. So these 5 jhana factors, they burns up the 5 hindrances accordingly. So that's why they are important in jhana.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so yes,
I have a doubt
yes.
regarding the last session. You mentioned that these jhana factors happen all in once, right?
Yes.
In the first jhana.
How is it possible for, if there are they chitas?
They are chetasikas,
Chetasikas?
mental
Ingredients.
factors.
How is it possible for them to arise together if mind can only bring up one at a time?
You remember we said the chitta is a plate and chetasikas are the ingredients.
Yeah.
Then one plate of one dish, that is the jhana chitta, has a lot of ingredients inside. So
Okay.
all these are ingredients that are that compose this kind of plate, this kind of dish. So
Okay.
say for example, this is a spaghetti. Let's say the jhana chitta, let's say is a spaghetti. So it contains spaghetti, tomato sauce, and salt and pepper, and then so many ingredients, but it's only one dish. So that's only one chitta that arises and passes away. So
Okay.
these chetasika and chittas, they arise together and they pass away together.
But maybe the confusion is what you are referring to chitta is to chetasika is chitta. What can be only one at once is a plate with many ingredients.
Okay.
As many as sometimes there are some chittas that we have. For example, when we are loving, we have sanya, we have perception about the human or animal that we are feeling goodness towards. We have concentration on them. There is love. There is flexibility of mind. So ingredients are many at once. There are some chittas that have up to 20 something
Or more. It's
or more,
actually
40.
jhana chapter have, if I have to check again, but I think 36 ingredients.
There are
It's the
many ingredients.
chetasikas in one
The one that can arise and pass away only one by one is chitta, the plate.
Okay.
But this being chetasikas can be this, and we might have all of this when we are
In
thinking
chapter
good.
2 will be clear.
Yeah, chapter 2. When we might have all of this plus some others right now, because we are trying to understand something. We have piti, we are fine. We have upekkha, the mind is concentrated and the mind is thinking. And we have some other things that develop in our thing. They come together in the plate and cease.
Okay?
Thank
Yes.
you. Yeah.
Okay. So that's Rupa Vachara Chittas, the 3 kinds, and we finished already. And now let's go to Arupa Vachara Chittas, which is the chittas of non-material planes, the ones that we saw, and also when the person meditates, more further development from the 5th jhana. So when the mind takes, here it takes material quality concept based on material quality as object, yes? So this kind of meditation, when it's further developed, it takes non-material quality as its object. Now we will look at it. Yes.
You remember that we had the kasinas is concentrating on something physical, our breath, or something that we can
Based
see.
on-
And this one is no more. It's not taking anything material to be for the mind to be concentrated. It's just a concept that is happening in the mind, and you will see
We will
how
see
it
in
got
detail.
refined and more refined.
Okay, so for Arupavachara Chitta, it's actually based on the fifth jhana. So it's further developed of the fifth jhana. If a person wants to develop and practice for Arupavachara jhanas, they must first be very skillful with the five Rupavachara jhanas. They must be so skillful with the 5 of them already. And Arupavachara Chitta is beyond, based on the fifth jhana and beyond, so it has the same 2 jhana factors as the fifth jhana, which is Upekkha and Ekagata in this case. Yes, only 2. Okay, now in the very beginning, when we introduced the chittas in the very beginning of the course, then we also saw the features of Arupavachara. So let's take a look to remember. Arupavachara chittas are even more refined and therefore a higher degree of development than that of the Rupavachara chittas. It's even more developed than that. In as much as its practice considers even the slightest aspect of material quality as being far too coarse. Because the mind is getting more and more and more refined. As we already mentioned many times, the chitta and its object must match each other. Yes? So now, let's see how to practice and what kind of Arupavachara chittas are there. So in the same way, it is also in 3 categories. Arupavachara kusala chitta, same, we don't have to say so much. When they are practicing, then this is karma, they're doing the action. Then vipaka, which is the result, direct result of this kind of actions. Then also we have kriya chittas, which is a fully enlightened being when they practice the arupa jhana. Yes? Okay, so now, how to practice? First, a person, if he wants to continue to Arupavachara jhana, first he has to get back into the 5th Rupavachara jhana, which last week we already saw that his object is the disc, the kasina disc, earth disc that is already being refined until as polished as a mirror. Yes, that it is based on earth. Yes, in the very beginning. Okay, so now in the 5th Rupavachara jhana, his object is this one. Yes, and he has 2 jhana factors. So now he has to get into the 5th Rupavachara jhana, and then he has to come out of that Rupavachara jhana. And now he takes this object in his mind, but now before he used to concentrate on the disc, on the mirror. Yes. So now because he wants to go further, go beyond the 5th jhana. So what he's concentrating on now is, instead of the disc itself, he's concentrating on the space that is being covered by this disc. Yes. So if the disc is there, there's a space behind, no? Like that this is covering the space. So his mind is now, he shifts the concentration not on the disc, but on the space that is being covered by the disc. So when he shifts his focus and his attention, then the disc disappears, because now his attention, his concentration is on the space. So it becomes space. The size of the disc, yeah, becomes space. Then in his mind, he extends, because it is a concept, yes, because now his object is concept. So he extends his space into as big as he wants, as much as he wants. He can extend it. And then in his mind, he concentrates infinite space, infinite space, infinite space. So that's a concept of infinite space. So now you see there's no more disc. His object became space.
He takes space and grows it inside to space, the actual space.
So there's no more material.
No
he
more
got rid of
materiality.
the earth disk totally, so it's now only the space. So he contemplates on that object again and again until all the hindrances, the 5 hindrances, remember, in the same way, becomes subdued. His mind becomes steady again. Then he takes this object, infinite space, again and again and again and again, and he concentrates on that. And at some point, the first Arupavachara jhana arises in his mind when it is well developed. No? Okay, so when the first Arupavachara jhana arises, it is called Akasananchayatana. Now we will come a lot of strange Pali words, but don't worry, you don't have to remember them. We will explain it, but it is good to know because it's the name of the jhana.
Very,
Don't worry
very
about it.
Very
Don't worry
interesting.
about
The
it.
meaning you will see.
Yes. So Akasa.
Maybe we'll see this and we'll take it.
Okay. Yes. So Akasa means space. That is space, and here Anancha means infinite. So ayatana here, sometimes it means base as well. In later chapter we will see, but here it means object. So that means the
Infinite space.
the object of infinite space. Akasa nancha yatana, and also because this chitta, this first Arupavachara chitta is based on this object, so that's why the chitta itself is called Akasa nancha yatana kusala chitta here.
I feel a little bit like right now I remember the level that we maintain in our society, the one we are. We have such potential to have our mind concentrated on infinite space, but we decide to
Concentrate on
to listen radio and to have party like yesterday. I mean, it's fine. It's fine. But yesterday, because we hear all the music here from there, and I can't listen the same songs that when I was a child. We have not evolved musically as a culture. We still listen Sergio el Bailador or something, and you say, man, we have not moved on, and we have such potential, and what we choose to think in our daily lives, sometimes I feel like, man, if we all knew the potentiality that we are carrying with this same mind that we focus onto greed or to fighting or something, and I included into the reminder, man, sometimes when looking at this is like, how can we do to for ourselves raise consciousness and start looking at our real potential, to be focusing on infinite goodness, infinite space, and infinite non-problem. And when we see the things that we get hooked, and to be honest, I have to share, I feel a little bit like a lot of work we need to start doing.
Okay, so would you like to take a tea and we continue?
Thank you. ¿Cómo ven? How you see?
Amazing.
Amazing. Our potential is unbelievable.
I'm putting together some memories from my classes before. Like, there was a meditation that took this concept from starting to like finishing with this kind of perception, but I think it was taught like carelessly, because now that I see the process, it's something that it requires a lot of effort and repetition, and
it's fino, it's fine.
Yeah, it's really fine.
It's fine.
So if you teach so many people that you can get from stage 1 to stage 10 in just one sit without previous training, it's not possible.
Only if the person had a lot of practice in previous lives, yes, but will be very rare.
Yeah.
Possible, but very rare.
Yeah, even for... sorry.
No, yeah, it's basically that. So now I'm getting much more information on how to develop it properly.
And it is possible. You see, you just follow this and set up to it, and it's possible. But yes, fine things are not cheap.
Yeah.
Fine things are not cheap.
And also, it's as we see, it's step by step for jhana. It's really step by step. If you don't get the first jhana, you can't get the second. Can't get the second jhana, can't get the third. Can't get the third, fourth, fifth. And so infinite space is beyond the fifth. So it's after the fifth Rupavajara jhana, then one continue with that. So in a way, it's really necessary to develop very systematically. It's not possible now. I sit down and I take infinite space immediately. I won't get anything.
If a person goes to first to the fifth, he went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 very quickly, but he went
maybe
through.
Possible.
He went and then he comes down to.
Yeah.
So it is.
Yeah. So.
So we have.
So
Yes.
Don't llegas.
10
No.
jhanas?
4.
Isn't that-
Actually 9.
Like
9,
Five
5 of the
Rupa
Rupa Vajara
Vajara
and
and
4 of the
four
Arupa. Arupa meaning no more material concept or object included. It's only mind. The mind is looking on itself. So you can see when we are looking out here, our attention is to the world, and when the mind looks into itself, it becomes much more refined. It's not depending on anything external. So it's looking in itself and rejoicing in itself and cultivating in itself. It's like...
Yeah, but also remember that this kind of objects is taking is still concept. No, it's very good to develop the mind for concentration and to a very refined type of mind. But this won't liberate us. That's very important because it's only focus. There is not vipassana wisdom, like understanding how nature is not this kind of chitas. So this is only a very refined kind of mind.
Okay, let's take a tea, and we will tell you there is a monastery in Burma who dedicates on this. There are a few who dedicates only on the development of jhanas. You can go, but they require you to stay for periods of a little bit longer.
Okay, so that's the first arupa vachara jhana. Until here, fine?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So this is arupa also because non-material, because he removed the object which was originally based on material. Quality, yes. It is already a concept, the mira, but it's very close to material. So to get finer and finer, he totally removed the concept that is even based on that material quality. So now it's only infinite space. That is the object of the first arupa vachara jhana, akasa nanja yatana. Okay, so now the person, he has already attained to the first arupa vachara jhana and he wants to develop further. Now what he needs to do next is that he needs to get into the first arupa jhana, emerge from that jhana, and now what he does is that he takes that first jhana chitta itself as object. The chitta that contemplated infinite space. Okay, so here it is interesting because most of the jhana objects is concept, yes, but here is actually a reality because he's taking the chitta as an object. Yeah, so it's only the very few kinds of samatha meditation that takes reality as object, actually, because most of the time it's only concept. Yes, so it takes the first jhana chitta itself, the chitta that contemplated the infinite space. He took that as object. Now he concentrates on that, and he contemplates that chitta as infinite chitta. Infinite chitta is not actually, this infinite chitta does not mean that the chitta itself is infinite. But the chitta contemplate the infinite space. So that first jhana chitta, then he contemplates on it and said infinite chitta, and then he concentrates on that. And the same way, he practices again and again and again. And at some point, the second arupa vachara jhana arises in his mind. Second arupa vachara chitta arises in his mind when he attains the second arupa vachara jhana. And this one is called Vijnanancha Yatana. Vijnana, remember, is the same as chitta, the same as mana. It's also mind, consciousness, no? It's the same word. So here Vijnana specifically means the first jhana chitta, first arupa jhana chitta, because that's the object that he is taking. Okay? So Ananja infinite, same. Ayatana here also means object. So that means that the second arupa jhana chitta takes the first arupa vachara jhana chitta as its object. Yes, passing through what? Passing through the infinite space object.
So you can see how from taking something physical, the disc, the mind turns onto itself and contemplates only the concept of space. And then from space, it takes the mind that was looking on its space. So it's kind of, instead of having the attention, it is going in itself. And then it's taking itself as an object and it's going refine, taking the perception of the infinite space and the chitta that was arose in the first jhana as its object, and it will start continue going in. It's like when you get this and you start bringing it in like this. It starts going in, going onto itself. The mind is. And then it has no connection to the world. That's why the mind is so refined on itself and so powerful, because it's just coming closer to its own source, to its own functioning. I don't know the right word to use, but kind of that.
Okay, so here the second arupa vachara jhana takes the object of the first arupa vachara jhana, which is the infinite chitta, no? Let's say the chitta, that the first jhana chitta that take infinite space as object, as its own object. Yes? Okay, until here it's okay?
Yeah.
Yes? Okay. So now to further develop again is basically similar. Then he has to emerge from the second arupa vachara jhana, and now this time what he takes is just like the disc, the earth, the mirror, he take away the mirror, no? So now he take away that chitta. So he takes the absence or the nothingness of that first arupa vachara chittas as object. So the absence of that chitta as object. So before in the rupa vachara is the disc, then he take the nothingness of the disc, let's say, yes, the infinite, the space, he took away the disc, yes? Okay, then he has infinite space. Now he has the infinite space, then to further develop from there, he take the chitta that took that infinite space as object, yes? Now, the next step, he took the non-existence of that chitta as object, that emptiness, the nothingness of that chitta. But here, nothingness, sometimes it is, so he contemplate nothingness, but nothingness doesn't mean nothing of everything. It only means nothing of the first arupa vachara chitta.
It's not sunyata, it's not the
It's not that
nothingness.
emptiness. It's only
not
that the absence of that first arupa vachara chitta.
He's looking at the space that was inhabited by the mind. He's now looking the mind
No
like
more
this.
chitta.
He's looking under, like the space that is taken by the mind, more
So
refined.
nothing. So he contemplates nothingness, but nothing of the first arupa vachara only, no, not nothing of everything. No? Okay, so he contemplates nothing, and nothingness,
But
and
peacefully, nothing.
yes, because of time.
Okay, otherwise we give it to nothing.
No, well, he's already this type of chitta already very high,
Okay.
very calm, very equanimous, and so
Okay,
you
okay.
understand. So he contemplate that, and then at some point, the third arupa vachara jhana arises in him when he keeps contemplating on that, and this time is called akincha yatana chitta. And kincha means something. Akincha means no something. That means there is not the something there.
Abróchense los cinturones.
So that means that it takes the object of nothingness. And this is also the name of that the third arupa vachara kusala chitta, no? Because according to its object, the name of the chitta comes up here. So the third arupa vachara chitta takes the object of nothingness as its object. Okay, so now after that, in the third arupa vachara jhana, then he wants to further develop to the highest, the fourth arupa vachara jhana. What he has to do is again he entered the third arupa vachara jhana, then he emerges from it, and now he takes the third arupa vachara jhana chitta as its object. He contemplates on that. So this chitta, the third arupa vachara chitta, the one that we just saw, it took emptiness, nothingness as object. Yes. So this is the chitta that take nothingness as object. So he takes the chitta that take nothingness as object as his object. Okay. Yes.
It's going in.
So now he contemplates, at this time he contemplates that this is peaceful, because imagine the chitta that is taking nothing as nothingness as object, so how calm it is, how peaceful it is. So he contemplates this way, peacefulness, because this chitta is very peaceful, already very high degree of tranquility in the time. So he contemplates this way, and at some point, when it is very highly developed, then the fourth arupa vachara jhana arises in his mind. And this chitta is called neva sanya nasanya yatana. So this word looks a little bit long, but now we'll go into part by part, so don't worry. And it is actually very interesting. Neva sanya nasanya. Neva means not. Sanya, we already know, is perception, yes? So na-sanya is non-perception, non-sanya. So, but here, sanya actually refers to all cetasikas. And actually it refers to mental activity. So it does not mean only sanya, but it means the whole, actually the mind. All the activity of the mind, including vedana, including phasa, including manasikara, ekagata, and all the ingredients that is in the mind. So sanya is the representative, but it means all the cetasikas. So that means here, when a person reaches this jhana, the mental activity in this jhana has become so subtle, so refined that it is very difficult to call it mental activity. Although there is still some mental activity, but it is so little that it's almost no mental activity. So that's why it's called
Non-perception.
perception, neither perception
Nor non-perception.
Because it is so little that it's hard to call that it is.
Cannot say
But-
it's perception because so little that is happening, but cannot say it is
That
not
is not
present. It is
also.
just a little bit. So
So little.
no perception, nor non-perception.
So almost nothing, but a little bit something. No, so that is why it is called like that. And the teachers give an example. So in the commentaries, they give an example that there was a traveler monk. Then they were traveling, and the Bhante and the novice monk, they were traveling together. And the novice monk, he went ahead, and then in front he saw there are some water. So he ran and then he come back and said, Bhante, there are water in ahead. And so Bhante said, okay, that's very good. Please give me my robe. I would like to take a bath, because they were traveling. Then the Samanera, the novice said, oh no, Bhante, there is no water. and so in the beginning, the Samanera, the novice, he said there is water. And yes, there is water. But when the Bhante said he wants to take a bath, then the Samanera said, no, there is no water because there is not enough water to
Not
take a
enough
bath.
to take a bath.
So there are water, but not enough water to take a bath. Maybe he can wet his feet, but not enough to take a bath. So there is, but there is not. And so in the same way, and then the teachers explained about that mental activity. There is almost nothing, but there is something.
Oh.
Okay. Yes.
Because if there were nothing at all, it would be sunyata, so it would be lokuttara chitta.
No, because actually sunyata, according to Theravada Buddhism, how the Buddha explained, sunya, emptiness, is only absent of atta.
Self.
It's not absent of everything.
Atta.
So there is actually no really emptiness. Because empty of what? Empty of self.
Empty of Actually, there will be always the matter will still there, the
The
mind will still
ultimate
there.
reality.
But when they refer to emptiness, the higher emptiness is when we realize that there is no soul, there is no something unchanging, moving from place to place,
Entity.
but a process happening, and the emptiness is because of the atta, anatta.
That's
Is the core of the Buddha's teaching is actually that. When we arrive to that moment to recognize that actually it's just a mental process flowing.
Therefore, ultimate reality is ultimate reality. So they are there. Like that is mind, chitta, cetasika, and rupa, and nibbana. So this four ultimate reality is real. So it is there. So cannot be empty of this. And lokuttara chitta, next week we'll look at it. So in detail, so we'll see next week. And it is very interesting actually. Okay, so neva sanya, nasanya, yatana. Neither perception nor non-perception, because it is taking that chitta, so fine, so subtle chitta as object. So that's why its name is called Nevasanya Nasanya Yatana. And here it is the base, because mind itself is the base. But this is a little bit too much details. Later on in other chapters we will see. But you remember in the first three objects, the ayatana, it means object, yes, but here it means base. But it's just a
Base.
subtle information. Then in further chapters we will look at it. So this is the four kinds of non-material wholesome chittas. Now we have already saw 1, 2, 3, 4. Now here there is okay. Let's read this first. Akasananchayatana, the first arupa vachara chitta, the ones that the chitta that has infinite space as its object. Yes. The second one, it takes the vijnana or the chitta that took infinite space as object. Yeah. So the first, it takes the first one as object. First chitta as object. The third one, it takes the non-existent of this chitta,
Base.
of the first chitta as object. Then the fourth one, we just saw it, it took the third arupavachara chitta itself as object. So these two actually takes the ultimate reality as object, and all the others are concepts. Yes. Okay. So these are the four types. you don't really have to remember this. You just have to know, like more or less, like how it is differentiated and what kind of object it
What
takes.
is next?
And we're finishing.
Okay, so we finish then.
You want to say something?
No, when we finish it.
Okay. So now there is one difference here. In Rupavachara Chitta, the Chitta of 5 material planes, as we saw, there are first, second, third, fourth, fifth jhana. As you can see, the object is the same. If the person took earth kasina for the first, then when he developed second, third, fourth, fifth, he used the same object to further develop. So what makes them different are the mental factors, the jhana factors that accompany it that makes it different.
The mental factors and the hindrance that they inhibit.
Subdued.
They subdue.
But actually, the first one you already
Already.
have to subdue
Already.
everything, but to a higher degree, no? So, and now in the Arupavachara Chitta, the first, second, third, and fourth, as you see, the jhana factors is always the same as the fifth Rupavachara jhana, no? So here, what makes it different is not the mental factor, not the jhana factor, but its object. So that's the difference between Rupavachara and Arupavachara Chittas. So if one wants to get supernormal power, then one must practice until the fourth Arupavachara jhana and further developed. And it must be, and then until here, then he has to change his object and further developed for those power. So not everybody that get jhana, whichever jhana get that power, must get to the highest and further developed.
And must get to the highest and wish to do it and do it. Actually, it's not that you arrive there and suddenly from you. The person must wish. So there have been meditators in the past who wish not to. They can, but they don't. As we said, some teachers has forbidden some of the students because the tendency they see on them, and some of them, as Dipama, they say, okay, you can do as much as you will, because the humility of her was such that she was there, and I mean this lady was there on that one. So we can see that it is possible for any of us. She was just a very gentle, very wise lady in India.
The teachers mostly, they allow the students to perform these kind of actions only for beneficial purpose. So the teachers allowed her to perform it so to show to other people it is possible. So otherwise, if a person just do this power anywhere, anytime, he can maybe even scare people. And it might not be beneficial for other people. So in those cases, the teacher says
The
no.
Buddha knew about human superstition, so he said, be very careful not to use that. And if it is only beneficial for the other people to get faith onto the teaching. And the time that the Buddha did perform some of these kind of miracles or supernormal things, it was only in very specific moments when the people recognized, and it was either to stop war. One time he used one to stop a war, and there was other moments when he thought it was necessary, like the one with Angulimala. He was actually walking very slowly and going much faster than him, so he was using this kind of materiality in order to make someone go out of darkness. That was the only moment when he himself used them.
Okay, so we almost finished, and I think in 5 or 10 minutes. So quickly we go through. So here, no problem. Yes?
Yeah.
Questions? Yes?
It's not possible to go to first stage of Arupavachara Chitta without the fifth
possible.
principle.
Must be very skillful with these 5. Go in and come on.
So not possible to have joy or any other.
No
chitta.
possible. Because
It's
it's based on the 5th.
Even happiness is too coarse, too heavy for that. Even happiness will distract from this. It's way much refined. Will be just mental stability and upekane.
So Arupavachara Chittas, in the same way, it is divided into first, second, third, fourth, according to its object, as we have seen now. So these ones are Kusala Chittas, the ones that Kama, the one planting it when one is actually meditating, and those jhana chittas arises in the mind. And this is the direct result, the identical result of this kind of practice. Yeah, so same one, fourth, and when a fully enlightened being practice. So there's no problem here. And here, as we have seen, the Arupavachara Vipaka Chitta are those rebirth consciousness of the non-material plane. So we have already seen that there are 4 immaterial planes Yes, when we just look at the 31 plane of existence. So if one person died and he still have the Arupavachara jhana intact, then he will be reborn into one of these four non-material planes. So here, only mind, chitta, and cetasika exist. Rupa does not exist in this kind of existence. It's there in the fourth. Okay, and now the last one, Arupavachara Kriya Chitta, you already understand. Then when a fully enlightened being, that he's already enlightened and he practices and he enters into these jhanas, then it's also neither planting seeds nor its fruits. There is only a function, only Kriya Chittas. Okay. So we finished Arupavachara Chittas, and now congratulations. We have finished Kamavachara Chittas, Rupavachara Chittas, and Arupavachara Chittas. Very good.
Oh yes, very good.
Okay, so now these three types of chittas, they have some names that we can take a look at. These two, Rupavachara Chitta and Arupavachara Chitta, are called Mahagata Chitta, sublime chittas, because they are sublime, because they are free from hindrances, free from defilement in the time when it is arising. No, thus does not mean that the potential is gone, but in this moment, then there is no defilement, and it's very pure, and it is very highly developed, very good mind state, skillful mind state. So it is called sublime chittas, but still, they are lokiya chittas, mundane chittas. So they are not free, they are not free from samsara.
Even Brahmas are not free from samsara yet.
So all these three types, until now, what we have seen are only mundane consciousness, not super mundane. It's not transcended yet.
The world.
So lokiya chitta, I think it's very easy to remember Pali word because of the Spanish word lokiya. So I think we are all lokiya.
Lokiya
Chittas.
It's the world. This word always makes very fun. When we learn it for the first time, it's the world lokiya. Yeah, lokiyo.
Yeah, surely
the world
we
is
are
lokiya.
lokiya
We are still
chittas.
lokiya chittas.
Until we get enlightened, only lokiya chittas will arise in our mind. Okay.
Hello, fellow loquillos. We are crazy about defilement.
Yeah. So Kamavachara surely and Mahagata, even they are sublime, sublime chittas, they are still mundane. Yeah. So now this is all we have learned. Wow, a lot. So in Lokiya Chitta, it's divided into Kamavachara, Mahagata, Rupavachara, Arupavachara, and we have already seen Kamavachara. It's further divided into all the groups that we have already seen. Rupavachara, also 3 groups we have already seen. Arupa, we also just saw. So these ones are all the mundane chittas that we have already seen.
Yes. So my dear friends, we just finished taking an X-ray to the mind. This is what a human mind is capable of. We haven't seen beyond the world. We will see next week. So just a comment that I want to make is that thank you for your patience and your effort. We have crossed one of the stupas, how you call, like in the desert, like when you have these plateaus. We know it's a little bit because it's abstract. It is a little bit far from our experience. When we are talking about, you remember, when we are talking about Kamavachara, yes, I know anger, I know love, I know generosity, so it relates to us. So it is necessary to go through, because once we know what kind of potential our mind has, we will know each action where is leading us. Now we can start talking about realms. Now we can start talking about the possibility of our mind when it develops to purity. So congratulations, really, because I know this chapter, for me, when we learned it without images, just with book, it was really heavy. I was sleepy many times. I was like with the teacher, and I needed to go to toilet and put water and like this, and because teacher has a very steady tone of voice, and we were not having any images, just with the book, it was heavy. But after this, when we finish the chittas, you will see we are going to the ingredients of the mind, the cetasikas, and it becomes really interesting
and useful.
And useful because we can relate, we can see ourselves in it. This is a little abstract because we have not experienced it or not experienced it, but we can see our great potential and how logic it is that from the worldly, more material, I mean still in the world, lokiya, but from the most materialistic way of behaving, which is the one we closely know, we can be moving our mind towards that side and remembering that even without going there, just because of wisdom and this kind of mental qualities, we can still liberate. So there are two paths with mental stability and jhana to get free, which will be easier because of the power and stability of the mind, or without it, and we will see that in further chapters. So congratulations to all of us.
So today also, this morning, Bante said that we talked with Sayadaw Kamsachara this morning, and he also asked us to remind everybody. He remind us and remind everybody, and he said that this is, he said we are nothing, so don't stop here. Whatever you hear this, maybe because of our interpretations of our explanation, it might sometimes we have mistake, or the way that we explain it might not be as clear, but the Buddhas explained everything in such a perfect way. So always go back to the source. So whenever you don't stop with us or with the teachers, Sayadaw said remind everybody, always go back to the text, go back to the three baskets and where the Buddha's teaching is there, and then you always need to base on the Buddha's teaching, not on what your teacher said. And he also reminded us he said, I'm nothing. He said, I said, I'm just only saying what the Buddha said. So it's the same for us, needless to say, even our teacher.
He
so
says that
always, this is the Buddha's teaching, not our teaching.
And not just his Buddha's teaching, he's just describing the potential of a human mind. He's just describing reality. It's not that the Buddha invented that there was Rupa Vachara. He neither invented anger or anything.
He saw it.
He just saw it and said,
His
look,
wisdom and
this
purpose.
works like this. I saw it, I experienced it, and I learned how to go in and out. Here is the methodology, and he left them up for us. That was his contribution. He's just describing the Dhamma, nature, how it works.
Yeah. Okay, so now we have finished Kamavachara, Rupavachara, Arupavachara, and next week we are going to Lokuttara Citta, which is very, very interesting. Because that is how we have to come out from samsara. All this that we have seen, all the wherever we are reborn to, we are still in samsara. So only with the Lokuttara Cittas we are going to go out one day. So what the citta does and what kind of citta is there, what kind of defilement are being eliminated in which stage, and all these things we were going to see next week.
Wow. So, can you go back to the last? Well, we will come back. All what we are learning, my dear family, is just the boat to cross. But the teacher says, when we cross the sea of suffering, the boat we will nobody in their right mind will carry the boat on land. So all what we are learning is just gonna be the tools to go out of suffering, and eventually even all of this information, all of these techniques are to be let go, appreciate, thank you so much for the teaching, and walk free towards the next, towards the light, and bring the next one, towards the next one. So let's keep that in mind even now. Of course, we now need to learn how the boat works, this boat that is carrying me through this samsara, how it works physically, how it works mentally, how can I make it move on the direction I wish, which is, I suppose, for all of us, to go free from suffering and to ultimate happiness and freedom. So, but this is gonna be left out, literally and ideologically. In theory, even the teaching is gonna be left out. It's gonna be just the tool to make us take, how we say, the cork, pop the cork, and the job will be definitely done. Hopefully, we get enlightened. And hopefully we have still time, enlightened, to help as many beings as we can. So may our aspirations and efforts go to that direction, towards final liberation for ourselves and families. And let's close. Thank you very much.
Thank you very
for
much.
coming.
Okay.
Thank you
So
much.
next week, enlightenment. So we'll
Don't
see the enlightenment.
Don't miss that.
Yes,
Yeah.
enlightenment comes next session. Theoretically, we will see it.
I
very
have a
closely.
question.
Yes.
Do there is any law, natural law? How do we jump into the next level, or to avoid going down into the lower levels?
That's
There
all
is
the
the law.
the
What
practice.
could it be the law?
That not more than a law, there is a methodology. That would be the
It's
Noble
more
Eightfold Path.
methodology. There is no
Yeah.
law in general.
No,
The law of karma, if you do bad, then you go down. If you do good,
That-
then you go
That's
up.
very simple.
yes, that's you do bad, you get bad. You do good, you do, yeah. That the law of nature. That would be on that terms.
Yeah.
How to jump and go? That would be the methodology, the Noble Eightfold Path. Right thinking, right view, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right concentration, right effort, right mindfulness, attention. I didn't say the last three in order, but if we are able to balance the morality, the inner stability, and the wisdom, if we manage sila samadhi panya, if we set them to a very developed equilibrium, the mind naturally, without expecting nothing from no one, liberates from suffering. So it is a matter of inner balance, and of course letting go of the practices that attack morality. For example, killing, stealing, which is, and also entertainment or mental instability. We let go of that practices for the mind to get into stability, and wisdom is bound to happen because the causes for liberation are present, not because I did. We won't liberate actually. We will just set up the conditions, and the mind naturally, because all the elements were together, suddenly enlightenment will happen as when we understand something. Cuando nos cae un 20, no? Okay. Suddenly the thing comes because all the pieces were close together, and suddenly, because the mind turned to them, was able to finally make them click. But the information was there. This is the part where we are making our part, which is bringing information first. Now our next step is let's start putting it into practice, and one day, if we follow the path which is clear, the effect will come. Freedom from suffering, total liberation from it, and full happiness, nibbana, will be as normal as gravity.
And
Just for
the Buddha explained the 5 kinds of law of nature. Nature law is called 5 niyamas. So there are bija niyamas, there's the chitta niyamas. They're different, like the law of nature, how chitta works, or how seeds work, or how these things. So it's just because nature works that way. So there are those 5 kinds of laws also. Later we can explore about that.
Thank you. Thank you.
And on Wednesdays we are exploring the Noble Eightfold Path these weeks. So welcome. It is really interesting, the methodology, how to do it, the way. So my dear family, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for your friendship, for your love, for your interest, for your effort. We really, really appreciate, and not just us, our teachers are really happy for what is happening. And today the teacher, at the same time that he reminded us to refer to the Buddha and remember our potential and limitations, he was also congratulating all of us and saying that to have interest in the Abhidhamma, which is so precious, it is something rare, even in Buddhist countries, and you will see it when you go. It is very rare what we are doing, and we must be honoring this possibility that we have and appreciating our teachers for all what they have passed to us. So may we be skillful to apply it and hopefully pass it to further generations, because definitely it has the potential to free ourselves from suffering. So with that intention, may all the information and seeds, all the effort that we have been put on exploring some qualities, abstract qualities of our mind by now, may they fall and become reality. And may these seeds give many fruits for our liberation, that of our families and all beings. And with that intention, we repeat, Idano punyam nibbana sa pacayo hotu. Idano punyam nibbana sa pacayo hotu. Idano punyam nibbana sa pacayo hotu. Thank you for the great teacher, the Buddha, for have the compassion to first understand everything and then give a methodology for all of us to continue benefiting after so many times. If we know someone who is having a hard time physically or mentally, we can remember them, and may the fruits of this cultivation be beneficial for many beings, especially those who suffer more than us, especially those in lower realms. And we repeat, Idano punyam samasatana pajima. Idano punyam samasatana pajima.
Vedanyam Savasatanam Pajima Sadhu Sadhu Sadhu